As an Amazonian princess and a founding member of the Justice League, Wonder Woman is no stranger to crushing responsibilities and overwhelming expectations. But now, with her first film hitting the big screen on June 1st, Diana of Themyscira faces her greatest challenge yet, making people care about the DC cinematic universe. If you've seen Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad, you'll know this task is starting to become a bit of a feat. Although those super flicks earned Warner Bros. Enough cash to make Lex Luthor green with envy, they were critically panned, leaving the Marvel vs DC war looking like a fight between the Incredible Hulk and Friendly Fire.
Who?
Oh, Friendly Fire. He's a DC hero that fires energy out of his hands, but he only usually hits himself and his friends.
That sounds rubbish, but okay, I see what you did there.
Get out of here, fake nerd.
Oh.
Now, I'm not one to stoke the flames of a fanboy war, especially considering I'm a massive fan of both DC and Marvel, but I think there's merit in looking at the two major things that Disney and Marvel did right with their movies and examining how Warner and DC could learn from them. But before we get into that, make sure to hit that big red subscribe button to get a regular dose of GameSpot universe videos on movies, TV, comics, anime and wrestling. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like so I can feel a little bit better about myself. Anyway, let's do this. First up, let's take a look at the Vision. No, not him.
I'll use the door.
When Marvel decided to start making movies itself instead of farming out its properties, it took out a $525 million loan. At the time, that was a huge risk, and it wasn't exactly the healthiest company around. Were it to fail, the result would have been financial ruin. The reason I bring this up is because it speaks to the approach that Marvel took. To make sure it didn't shoot itself in the foot, it spent time and effort laying down the building blocks to establish its larger universe. It hired writers, directors, producers and creative executives to ensure that each film was not only high quality, but adhered to a style and the master plan. There was an extensive amount of forethought put into the movies it wanted to create, and the future it was building towards. Having said that, Phase 1 of the MCU wasn't without its missteps. I'm looking at you, Iron Man 2, and the Incredible Hulk. But with Kevin Feige overseeing everything from tone to how the movies connect to each other, overall it was a calculated and intelligently executed series of films, and each one strengthened the broader cinematic universe. By comparison, Warner and DC's approach has felt rushed and haphazard, a reactionary response to Marvel's runaway success and its clear ambition. While DC does have a Kevin Feige-like figure in Jeff Johns, the movies haven't benefited from a well thought out vision. Instead, each one feels like a piece from a different jigsaw puzzle, forcibly crammed into place. They can be made to interlock, but when you stand back and look at the bigger picture, the lines don't quite meet. The DC universe is built on Man of Steel, but the movie became foundational retrospectively. When it was released, Man of Steel had no overt indication that it was the springboard for more superhero stories, probably because it was never meant to be. Batman vs Superman's recontextualization of the final battle from Man of Steel felt like an awkward way of dropping Bruce Wayne into the mix. And the assault of Justice League character cameos felt like a frenzied grab at an opportunity it didn't realize was there until the very last second. Personally, I feel that irreparable damage has been done to the perception surrounding DC's movie universe, but Wonder Woman is an opportunity to turn all of that around. And not just Wonder Woman, but also Flash, Affleck's Batman, Aquaman, Shazam, Green Lantern Corps, and the other DC movies that are being readied for the years coming. As excited as I am for it, I think Justice League stands a good chance of being another best of a bad situation job, but those standalone character-focused flicks could wipe the slate clean. Essentially, DC's Phase 2 could be the equivalent of Marvel's Phase 1, and here's why.
You've grown stronger here than I ever could have imagined. The only way to know how strong is to keep testing your limits.
There's one major thing that separates the first Iron Man, Thor and Captain America movies from Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman and Justice League. Baggage. Also the amount of capes, but mostly baggage. Baggage. Both Superman and Batman have multiple great, incredibly successful movies under their utility belts, so they have a legacy to both live up to and dance around. They carry expectations and inevitably are going to be compared to previous iterations of themselves. It's much harder to make Superman and Batman interesting the umpteenth time than it is to do the same for Tony Stark or Thor Odin's son. Regardless of whether you're rebooting the characters or not, another straight retelling of a Superman or Batman origin doesn't fly when it's been done so many times. While I can't say I'm a big fan of the unrelenting bleakness of DC's movies, I can't fault the attempt at experimenting with themes, style, imagery and tone. In fact, I appreciate that they took a shot, even if it didn't quite land. Marvel's movies are praised for the lighter tone that underpins each one of their films. Regardless of who's fighting who and what's at stake, humour and fun are defining qualities of its movies. But, to an extent, the audience's unfamiliarity with their characters is what allows this. Unless you were a die-hard comic book fan, you didn't really know what kind of person Tony Stark was. On the flip side, you knew exactly what Bruce Wayne was like, and it was not a wisecracking clown. Then again,
some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
that's where Wonder Woman comes in, and also all the other standalone movies I mentioned earlier. For the most part, these are characters that have had little to no presence on the big screen thus far. They are effectively brand new characters to the movie-going masses, which means Warner and DC have the freedom to present them however they want. This, in turn, means that they can take that Marvel Cinematic Universe approach to appointing writers and directors with a defined voice that can present these characters as new, dynamic, engaging heroes to get behind, with arcs that develop across multiple movies. They can build a new fandom for the characters, while also laying the groundwork for them to unite again in the future, and when they do, people will actually know who they are and be invested in them, instead of wondering who that red dude surrounded by lightning is, or why there seems to be a dude that controls fish. These standalone movies could be a way to undo the run before you walk approach DC has taken thus far. Instead of shoehorning references into the wider DC Cinematic Universe, it can plant seeds and lay the groundwork for it to develop naturally, and then flourish. Marvel has achieved huge success by taking lesser known characters and using them to capture the imagination of viewers and generate interest in the wider universe. I mean, if you had told a younger me that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be among the most popular movie characters of today, I think I'd probably react something like this. And yet, here we are. From what we've seen, Wonder Woman looks to be a step in the right direction. For many, this will be their first exposure to Diana Prince and Wonder Woman, an important, powerful heroine with a rich history and hundreds of compelling stories to draw upon. With any luck, DC fans will take a liking to her. Her cinematic debut is historic not only because it's the first female-led blockbuster superhero movie in forever, but also because it's the first genuinely good DC movie in recent memory. Let's hope Warner and DC can pull it off again with the rest of the characters we hold so dear. So those were a few of my thoughts on the way Marvel and DC make movies, but as we know, you're all fans, you're very passionate about this stuff too, so why don't you fly on down to the comments below.
Fly on down?
Yeah, you heard me. And let us know what you like about the way they make movies, or what you'd like to see them do differently.
Last week, Dave and I debated on whether Pirates of the Caribbean should keep making those films. I was firmly of the opinion that Disney, when the fun stops, stop. But you thought...
Yes, I want another pirate movie and spin-off and prequels. That was from Mirai no Trunks on YouTube.
On hit video game and entertainment website GameSpot.com, Lord Daggerath wrote, I would love to see the documentary on this film. Scandal, Mr. Depp caught in biosecurity scam. Scandal, Mr. Depp slurs on stage. Scandal, Mr. Depp dumped. Scandal, Jeffrey Rush distances himself. Because those scandals went in increasing order of severity.
That was a great comment, I like that.
Oh God, I could just imagine Jeffrey Rush going like, ooh, getting away from this one. But thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week. We'll see you then.
Bye!
Bye!
I think you're really gonna like what you have.